And welcome to the Glacially Musical Pouredcast. It is beer, metal, and swearing, as always. And I should not touch my face now that we're on video because this is on YouTube and I look like a dick. Nick Cameron of Glacially Musical, joined by Spicy Kimchi Chakas from Ghost Cult Mag. How are we doing today, Keefy?
Alrighty, we're already off to a flying start with
I am
you.
awesome.
You're awesome. I'm pretty good. You're wearing a Star Trek shirt. I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. Let the battles begin.
Hey, my personal belief over which is better, Star Wars or Star Trek, is simply put. In the New York Times crossword last week, there was a clue, which was what is the superior sci-fi franchise, and the answer could have either been Wars or Trek. It would have worked either way.
4 letters. Yeah, holy shit.
However, Trek is the best. So, beer check. I love Star Wars as well. And on my turntable, I have a Kylo Ren mini Funko Pop, along with Leia on the speeder bike, Anakin in the pod racer, and Darth Vader in the Darth Vader TIE Fighter from Episode 4. This evening, I am drinking from Urban Chestnut, a local brew by my house, which I've pumped their tires quite a bit. A Thrails Russian Imperial Stout, which is 9% ABV.
Ooh, that is dark.
Good Russian Imperial Stouts should be.
Oh, and the pour, nicely done. I give you a lot of shit when they don't go well. That is beautiful looking. Nice head, very dark. Moose Drool?
Yes, Moose Drool is a Big Sky Brewing from Montana. It is an American brown, delicious.
All right, then. And you're drinking a brown right now. How's it taste?
It's a black.
Oh, sorry.
Imperial Stouts are black. It is. You know, I've only had it in the can so far, and beer in a can is not as delicious because you don't get the smell factor. It is much better. Like Dale's Pale Ale is like, that is the beer. Like, you know, you have the record where you tell everybody, no, this is why you listen to records, because of things like this. Dale's Pale Ale is the beer that you give to people. Say, no, pour it into a glass, and you'll see the difference. Can you hear that? Can you hear all that activity?
I do. What's going on, St. Louis? Saturday night in St. Louis. What's going on?
It's another day in a neighborhood that I'm leaving. So 5 weeks, T-minus 5 weeks till we move.
That is amazing. If we have to adjust our pod schedule, let me know.
Well, I have no idea what's going to happen. So we'll figure it out. I do have 3 days off that week, so maybe we'll do get a couple nailed out.
Yeah.
But what are you drinking today, my friend?
I am also drinking a brand new beer I have never had. This is the Open Itinerary India Pale Ale from Pizza Port Brewing. I just like the can. It's very funky with surfers on it. It's very like almost Starry Night. A lot of pastels, a lot of impressionist painting artwork going on here in my mind, at least. And very, see a star, dude. And this is 7.2 alcohol by volume.
7.2 is a very good number for an IPA. It's heavy, not too heavy.
All right, we're gonna find out.
In my humble opinion.
About to
cheers.
F around and find out. Cheers. That is not bad. It's pretty tasty.
Out of the can, I am enjoying this so much more than I did in it.
Okay.
Ooh. And look at that. It's got the lovely, it's going to have some great lacing at the end. My backup beer this evening, because I drink too much, is a Squatters Hop Rising Double IPA, 9% Double India Pale Ale.
Is that like, what's that artwork? I see a cowboy, and then is that like a cow?
No.
A meat map of the cow? What is that?
It's a hop.
It's a hop. Okay.
It is a rancher with a hop.
Clever. Very clever. We like clever things here.
Agreed.
Glacially Musical.
You got a vinyl check for me?
I do have a vinyl check. I finally received in the mail my vinyl version of the album that came out last fall from Kylan Mikla, the Icelandic synth punks who I'm quite fond of. I have interviewed them over for the Ghost Cult Magazine podcast. I cannot pronounce this name of this album. I don't want to butcher the Icelandic. I really should learn Icelandic considering how much I love this band and Solstifier, but I am going to pull out the beautiful looking vinyl because this is on colored vinyl. Ice blue for Icelandic, I think, if my memory serves correct. This album also features a guest appearance from Nage from Alcest on a very
Nice.
gazy, black gazy song. And so look at this puppy in the light. Very nice, very nice. Kind of cast
Nice.
a reflection of
Good,
the
good
screen
and clean. That's got a good shine to it.
right out of the package. And I will shout out Artofact Records, who Kylan Mikla is a representative of. Beautiful packing. This thing came like double boxed because this
Mm.
guy's on a beautiful gatefold, just one LP, but a beautiful gatefold. Maybe there's even like a foil for the logo and this, lettering and art.
Right,
And
right.
you can see it's definitely raised. So this is a beautiful workmanship here. And this thing was double a vinyl box within a giant box that was padded. These people give a
Oh, yeah.
shit. And I paid a lot. I mean, this is obviously the record label, the band's from Iceland. I believe the record label is out of Europe, but also has an office in Toronto. And this was
Mhm.
shipped from Syracuse. So
That's
maybe
not bad.
over the border into the save on the shipping. I'm not sure if
They
that's even possible.
probably just drove it over like, do you have anything to declare? Nope.
Nope, and then ship out a bunch of mail, and I'm thankful. We have discussed ad infinitum that some of my stuff shows up dinged, and I get really mad, and I have a really expensive Funko that I shelled out for a few months ago. I'm regretting it now, and the box is destroyed, and it's like I could take some of them out and display them. I don't have my display set up really perfect yet. I'm looking to try to get some shelving, but like if you pay a lot of money for a rare item, it shouldn't come bashed up in a shitty package. It should come
Well, if you want to
preserved.
just take it out of the box and get rid of it, we have a Funko Pop shelf at the new place.
Nice to know. All right,
If
we'll
I
consider it.
sent you the photo of that, I don't know if I've sent that.
We've described it.
Okay. Well, I also realized we have Pez dispensers.
Ooh,
So in the room, I'll send you a photo, which I can't send on this, but actually maybe I can. Maybe you can see it.
a dear friend of mine has an entire basement of Pez's, and I shit you not, like 3,000 Pez dispensers, mint. Yeah, I get it. I
That
see it. I
that
don't
is
know
the
how that's gonna
door.
I don't know how
That's
that's gonna
not going to
translate
translate
on
well.
YouTube at all, but and to our podcast listeners, it's lovely looking, and I like the we are collectors, right? At heart, we talk about this vinyl
Correct.
collecting things, little things that make us happy. One of my childhood best friends, who I grew up with playing with GI Joes and Star Wars figures, on the rocks in our project, is now a little younger than me, but basically my age in a very professional realm. And he has a toy room where he plays with his
Well,
figures from assorted universes.
the way my wife put it was, this is the room that's going to be kitschy. It will
Ooh,
also have my game worn hockey jerseys displayed. It
kitschy
will
doesn't sound insulting.
no, it's crap for the masses. It's whatever. I don't care. But we're the way the room is set up is we're going to have an entire wall of records, an entire wall of appliances, an office hidden, video games, a 50-inch television. It's going to be pretty flip and sweet. And then there are two doors in the room, so it becomes like a hallway. Excuse me, I'm gassy. This is making me gassy in a good
All
way.
right.
It's urban chestnut. It's always a good way. And over one of the doors is actually going to be covered by records, so it never opens. And we put Pez dispensers over. All of the doors have little ledges over them in this house. And so we decided, you know what? We've got all these Pez dispensers. I'm just going to line them up there. Wife's like, love it. Love it. Okay, perfect. Now Pez dispensers are back in business and you can buy those for us again. And then on top of the records, I'm also going to display all of my copies of The Wall,
We discussed.
which is a great segue if you're done with your vinyl check.
I have no other vinyl check to check,
Okay.
so that's it for me.
I will start off with this one. This is my fifth different version of The Wall. However, it is a very different version of The Wall.
Wonderful.
This is Magnetic Eye Records, The Wall Redux. The records are blue, nice ice blue. Looks just like what you sent to me. It's a nice gatefold. The bands that are on this are not terribly famous. It starts off with the Melvins. That's as famous as it goes. I mean, not that it's going to go bigger than that. I mean, they're pop culture icons, but it is the entirety of Pink Floyd's The Wall covered by basically doom metal bands. Most of them play it pretty straight, but they play it doomy, and it's absolutely amazing. I listened to it the other day. I came across it in Moline, Illinois. I'm sorry, Rock Island, Illinois, when I was on my trip a couple of weeks ago. And I thought, $40 is a bit much. And I found it on Discogs for 15.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You cannot go wrong with anything from Magnetic Eye Records, whether it's the Redux series of these covers album, Jimi Hendrix, Alice in Chains, Dirt, Pink Floyd, Sorted Stuff, Back in Black by AC/DC is the newest one, Black Sabbath, and you can't go wrong.
They have two Black Sabbath ones.
They do. And they have two Floyd ones, technically, I think. They also have a Floyd General one that I also have.
I didn't see that one.
When they usually, when they put out a Redux, they do a bonus with the same bands recording other hits from off those records. And Magnetic Eye has their own bands that are stellar. Domcraft and Costa Casanova, and the list goes on. Phenomenal label. And again, much love and shout out to them.
Moving on, my next one is Cannabis Corpse.
Nice.
I don't know if you've noticed a bit of a theme this week from my music I picked up. But got this last week. Went out shopping. Whenever my wife needs time away from us, I can always manufacture some by finding a record store nearby where we're going, which is also what I did today. Wife needed time. Oh, well, I got to go to the store. I guess I'll go ahead and hit Record Space while I'm at it.
Nice work. All right then.
So I brought home.
There's more.
The last one of the day.
Oh, Goat Horn.
Are they good?
I know of them. I think I've heard them a little bit. They were solid.
They're Canadian. The album was $16.66. That's one of Record Space's little kind of things, as if it's a lot of 666s. It's got a pentagram on the front, pentagram on the back, and a dude with his face in a beer keg.
That would be an interesting fermentation additive.
I figured, it's $16. I'm just killing time anyway. They did have Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger, but they wanted $40 for it. Couldn't bring myself to go $40 on a repress of that.
I wonder if it's a remaster, and that may be why.
$40 is
steep.
High.
That's steep.
That's steep for an album that has already recouped all its money 1,000 times.
I hear you.
Maybe I shouldn't think about it that way, but I do.
Well, we still don't have the final resolution of the war of the Cornell estate versus the living members of Soundgarden and all that jazz. I know they're trying to go forward. I'm rooting for the best possible outcome. If there is some unreleased, finished Soundgarden material, I think we should get to hear it. I don't know if we will. Under what guise? We'll hear it. I don't know under what guise.
I'll just say, hopefully they can do better than the Experience Hendrix situation. The Experience Hendrix started off wonderful and lovely and great, and then it went weird.
Well, the Experience Hendrix is a reaction to a lot of the stuff that happened in the 70s.
Yeah.
With a lot of egregious, terrible things that should have never come out, and a few good ones. So I understand what you're saying. Overall, I think Experience Hendrix, it's a better situation than it's ever been, but it's also not perfect. So none of these things. The only one that's out there that I see being handled beautifully is the Prince, because I know the guy running the Prince collection, and he's a humongous, obsessive Prince guy.
Oh, there you go. So and there's enough material in that Prince vault that
leave a will, everybody. If you don't have anything, if you have nothing to leave anyone, leave a will anyway, because you know what? If you have direct wishes and you don't express them, we never know.
Correct. Especially if you've got vaults and vaults of unreleased music.
Mm, so
Ah,
true. So
the
true.
Metallica Minute.
Mm,
I got my email this week that the Metallica Vinyl Club 2022 is shipping on time.
crazy.
So if things work out just right, which they won't because it's, pandemic times and basically we're living in a dystopian nightmare. But if it does, as soon as this ends, our chaser could very well be our first Metallica Vinyl Club episode.
Interestingly enough, I don't think I received the same email.
Oh, never
I get
mind.
I get Metallica emails constantly, by the way, for a variety of reasons, and I did not get that one. But that's not to say that mine will also. I paid just like you did, and maybe mine will show up on time just like
I
yours
think
will.
I think you bought a couple days after I did, so
Shouldn't make a difference though, but
I might
you
be
know,
above. Well, and considering, okay, as you pointed out before, they have their own streaming service, which is the biggest streaming service in the world. Or
from any
of
band.
Okay,
I think it's the fourth or fifth biggest streamer of all of them, which is insane.
okay,
That
fair
one
enough.
band is in the top five, but like,
Right.
yeah.
So, how big is their vinyl club if their streaming service is competing with Apple, Amazon,
Well,
Pandora, and so
I'm sure it's bigger than any other subscription club, but at the same time, they claimed it was limited. I'm guessing like 20,000 copies or 25,000 copies to limit, pirates and assholes. Um,
yeah, good point. Good point.
that's just my feeling. That's just my feeling. I know it was more their original attempt at it was more limited, but again, Metallica, you have to imagine they have their own pressing plant. Like, how could they
Right.
not? They must, or they have a line to
No, they
run.
do. They own a pressing plant. It's in
Yeah. So,
I want to say the Czech Republic.
oh really?
Yeah, and I mean they do their deluxe sets. They press at 10,000 copies,
Yeah.
which is not really all that limited. But
Well, I mean, comparatively to other things. Um, did you happen to see the record store day news while we're talking about vinyl?
go ahead. I skimmed through. I won't say the website's name because I don't want to piss anybody off. But a large metal website. I
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
their metal one
yeah. No worries. We saw the same list, and
probably.
the big news is, if I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong about this. The way I interpreted what I read is there is not going to be a record store day Black Friday this year. They're
Hmm.
just going to do record store day in April. I believe it's April 19th. They are trying to make it a little more helpful to rather than have to cut through the note. First of all, 2 days, what I think is a good idea. It doesn't have to necessarily be Black Friday. It could be Record Store Day Christmas, Record Store Day December, Record Store Day late 2022. But they felt like making it one day makes it a little more unique and just about the record stores and just about supporting the small, whereas on Black Friday, it's in the midst of every other Black Friday everything.
And
There
I
is
won't
also
leave the house on Black Friday. Black Friday is my day to stay at home, drink beer, listen to records, wearing yesterday's PJs.
Mhm. Like most people, and again, I'm sure this is a weird idea to people not American, but now
Mm.
it's all over the world, and so just I'm gonna run down this really quick, if you permit me, because it's
Go
really
ahead.
short. I'm gonna run down this list of rock and metal record store day releases for April, and you tell me if any of these are a potential buy for you. Alice in Chains, We Die Young 12-inch. Charlie Benante solo covers record Moving Pictures. Black Label Society, Alcohol, Fuel, Brutality, Live 2 LP. That is the one I might do because the second side has some incredible acoustic covers.
I want to like Black Label Society, and I have tried. It just doesn't work for me.
Understood. Alice Cooper, Brutal Planet, which I think I have on vinyl.
Possible.
This is the big one. Def Leppard High and Dry Picture Disc Remaster.
Hard
9.
pass.
Hard pass. Dillinger Escape Plan Disassociation LP. 9. Dio Double Dose of Donington 12-inch. Maybe.
I need to see a track list on that.
Yeah, I would too.
Because
Udo.
if it's, I'm sorry, I'm not to interrupt, but if it's like the other Dio live album where they release basically two identical concerts in one package, if it's that, I don't want it.
Yeah, that did happen recently. Udo Dirkschneider, My Way. I have no idea what that is. I hope he's not covering Sinatra. Punk band GBH, City Baby, Attacked by Rats.
No,
Gojira live at Brixton Academy 2 LP. You're not a Gojira fan. I am.
I don't like Gojira.
I
I've
get you.
tried, I've tried.
LA Guns, Waking the Dead. No.
No.
Kirk Hammett's upcoming solo EP Portals on 12-inch.
That's a hard maybe. I need to know what it is.
Right. Judas Priest Hero Hero 2 LP. I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Is that a new song we just got like accidentally leaked or the title of or something? I don't know
I don't know.
what it is, but we'll
There
find
are
out.
Judas Priest albums I would buy on Record Store Day, but you gotta.
Here's one of the potential possibles for me. Kitty Spit debut LP, first time on vinyl. I might have to. Their later stuff is really what does it for me, but I am a fan. Motorhead, The Lost Tapes Volume 2. Did you check out The Lost Tapes Volume 1? I have several Motorheads on vinyl.
What is the Lost Tapes? Is it
It's like demos and
live?
stuff. I think it's
Oh, okay.
demos and things they never
Not
came
my
out with
bag.
and
Not my
covers. Like Motorhead, if you don't have the classic albums, you don't really need anything else. Here's a definite possible for me. Opeth, My Arms Your Hearse LP, double LP. I
bag.
might have to.
I should have some Opeth on vinyl,
Mm.
and I don't.
Iggy Pop Live in Berlin, 2
Hmm.
LP.
Not a big Iggy Pop guy.
Yeah,
Like, don't
Ramones.
love.
Yeah, Ramones box set, the Sire albums, 81 to 89, 7 LP box set. Now, I love Ramones. Perhaps not enough for those late 80s ones, though.
That's gonna be a $400 set.
Yeah, for sure, at least.
Hard no.
Yeah. Sepultura Revolutions, their covers EP from quite a while back. Slash Live at the Studio 60 just released on YouTube. You could watch the whole thing for free, but interesting if you must have it on LP. 2 LPs. Slash's new album is out right now. It's pretty good.
I have a Slash live album live at the Roxy, I believe.
Oh,
3 LP.
we're almost done. Sleep Token, that's a good band you may not know, but Sundowning LP, it's their sort of so far best LP. Pretty good band, kind of all sort of weird shoegazy alternative rock metal band. Stiff Little Fingers BBC Live in Concert, good band live, wouldn't want it on album. Jeff Tate, Kings and Thieves, 2 LP set, no thank you. Here's another maybe. Tesseract Polaris LP, maybe. And ICP Fellows Twisted, I Tried to Warn You 7-inch. No, I'm all set, thanks. So, some possibles there for me. A lot of no's for Nick. Just throwing that out there. Not sure if there's absolutely no other record store day. And I'm gonna say also I've been unsuccessful to do the traditional what record store day, show up the day or night before, fill out your little list, and either wait online or go home and wait to be called, or come back to the store the next day and see if you won the lottery. It still seems it's really competitive, which turns me off, and it's really hard. And I like the thrill of just kind of finding the vinyl in the stacks. There are places in here in town where I can go to and get an LP after record store day, and they just have some. But it's like the competitive part of it is a little off-putting to me. I don't know if that's not
I
dumb of
love
me, but
the idea of Record Store Day. However, Record Store Day is like going out drinking. It's like going to the bar on New Year's Eve. It's the people who don't go to the record stores every week that are there.
it is now. It wasn't originally, and I
Right.
do
It
like
is now.
I like the idea of record store day on paper. I don't know if the
Correct.
execution, in the spirit of
Problem.
fairness, everybody fuck off and nobody gets what they want. I don't know
Right.
if I like that.
And I have tried to get Record Store Day albums. I think 2 years ago they released Ace Frehley's Trouble Walkin' on a 2 LP set with 45 RPM, really cool colored swirls. I believe it was orange and blue. Looked really sweet. Loved it. It was on eBay on Record Store Day for $90. And the problem I have with vinyl in general is, we talk about we're collectors. I'm not really a collector per se of things. I listen to every record I buy. The albums I've spent stupid money on land on the turntable in regular rotation, or I wouldn't have bought them.
Right.
And I looked for, I think last year Mega Ran had a record store day release off Megaforce Records. 5,000 copies only, none here. Couldn't get that. Couldn't get Ace Frehley. Couldn't get the Beastie Boys one. I mean, there's so many. Beastie Boys, Some Old Bullshit was on record store day. Roger Waters' The Wall Live in Berlin was a record store day release as well on Coke bottle vinyl. I think I have about a total of 10 record store day releases that I've gotten over the years. Obviously, the aforementioned Roger Waters' The Wall, Beastie Boys, Some Old Bullshit on white vinyl. I have Carcass, Choice Cuts with the bonus LP. The problem is it becomes a collector's show-off crap. Everybody goes in, they buy two, they flip one. And
there are limits. There are limits on how many you can buy, and if they have only a limited inventory, they're technically not. Let's say they have only two. They're not supposed to sell only two to two people. It's supposed to be one to a customer, unless they happen to have many copies. In which you're talking about a big,
right,
a big metropolitan record store with some clout might get multiple copies of the same record store day release, but they're not going to get dozens. They're going to get 5. I know some people who run some indie record stores, and that if they're lucky they get them, and if they're not they don't. Right. And I'll close this out by saying I have several record store day releases that I have picked up after the fact, and one that I really wanted was this past one. I wanted the Amigo the Devil B-sides and covers and lives. There was only it's a very limited number, like I don't even think 1,000, and it was gone. There was the waiting list for Amigo the Devil's 152. If the people aren't here when we call their number, the next person gets it. Do you want to wait and see if you're 153 and no one claims it before you? And I was like, let's see. No.
That's the problem. And when you have these, and I get it, you can't have Amigo the Devil's B-sides and covers album. You can't press 50,000 copies of it. It doesn't.
I mean, he has a diehard following, but probably not that many. And the other part, and then I ended up getting it off of Discogs for an obscene amount of money from somebody in Germany. And I'm glad that I have it, and I enjoy it, and I actually listen to it. It's right by my turntable right now. But also, yeah, I can't afford normally to overspend for something like that I just had a hankering that I had to have it.
No, I get it.
Obsessing about him, but
completely get it.
Probably a dumb idea.
I ended up buying, and the reason why I wanted the Ace Frehley record store day release was because I assumed, wrongfully, foreshadowing, that I would never be able to acquire a copy of Trouble Walkin' on original pressing vinyl. It was on Megaforce Records, 1989. 1989, the worst year for records in America, period. Because that's when the cassette had taken over dominance, the CD was coming to prominence, and nobody was pressing anything.
That was a haiku.
Wow, that was awesome. I need to do that. I need to plan those out instead of just accidentally doing them.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, real quick, let me say, I want to apologize to Keefe because I listened back to our podcast last week and I was a jerk.
Nah, whatever.
I'm sorry. I'm putting it on the air because I want to apologize for my actions. That is not normally me. I'm usually... The kid has noticed how short I've been lately, so I apologize.
Well, we all have our crosses to bear. It's okay, brother.
Like everybody else, I'm dealing with a lot of things.
I teased on Twitter that it was going to be the last one ever, and Nick was like, "What?" Sorry, no! I took it dark there for a second. We're not going anywhere. Nick is one of my favorite people. No need to apologize, but all is forgiven. Don't worry about it. And also I can be unbearable. Like, this is why I don't. This is why I am single. Anyway,
so anywho, I came across a copy of Trouble Walking on Discogs below market value. I got it for $30 plus shipping, which I mean, $30 plus shipping for $30 is the gives me pause level, but not a no. And for something to get the original Megaforce pressing of that $30, which is like at the time was 10 to 15 to $20 below market. I saw that and went, snap, buy now. Thank you. And I got it. It's in, it's a cutout, of course, because I mean, every record pressed in 1989 is a cutout now. I don't think they made any that aren't cutouts that didn't get cut out. But it's in great shape. No warps, no warps, no skips, no anything. Beautiful copy. So
good record.
Good record. As good as Ace can do, really. I mean,
as good as Ace can do.
Ace is limited. But
well, I mean, just saying that's the peak solo Ace.
I will say the next album is Ace's best solo record, but it's not fair because he wrote that over the course of 20 years.
Fair enough.
Ace can't write a record in a year. He can write a song in a year.
We'll see. He claims that he's having a very fertile time right now writing original stuff in his new home studio in San Diego.
Yeah, and, I can drink a lot and get delusions of grandeur too.
He's supposedly sober. I don't know.
I have questions about that, but I'm not going to go there because that's rude.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I mean, for you, buddy.
If I'm rooting for Ace as well, but if you look at Trouble Walking, he only wrote like 4 songs on that album. If you look at, his first 3 solo records, he only wrote 4 to 5 songs per record. And then on Anomaly, he writes basically all of them, although one of them was co-written by Sebastian Bach, who got no credit. Although the updated version was way better than the original version. I'll throw that out there. But Anomaly is my favorite. But again, Anomaly also was written over the course of 20 years. And Ace, not being a fast writer, it's not fair to compare that to anything else.
Also, very true.
As now that we've gone over the Ace Frehley catalog, what are we talking about this week?
This is episode 2 of the Robert Plant solo launch of his career.
Can I ask one question before we get deep into this one?
Yeah, man.
Whose son of a bitch an idea was it to do this?
Yours.
Ah, crap.
And you want this to go 5. I don't even think it needs to go 5.
I think 3 might really. I think I'm ready to call it a 3.
Well, we'll see. So just to recap for those who haven't listened, and feel free to stop right now, go back and listen to the first one if you were a Plantophile. Led Zeppelin ends with the death of John Bonham. Robert Plant launches a solo career post-haste, aided by his good buddy Phil Collins, who takes no fucking credit and helps play on both the first 2 Robert solo albums. Goes on tour with Robert with no fanfare or credit, basically, as a drummer in the midst of the launch of his million-selling solo career and 2 albums by Genesis. Whoa.
Within the span of like 18 months,
also, yes,
you have Robert Plant and Phil Collins touring, and then you have Roger Waters and Eric Clapton touring. That's crazy.
Mind-blowing. And so Robert launches his career, goes straight to arenas while playing no Led Zeppelin songs, ultimately at first. A principle that guides him for a long time. He comes right back with a second record. He also gets a little new life on one of the first solo records because one of the tracks from the first solo record gets on the hugely popular and selling soundtrack to the movie White Nights, starring Gregory Hines and Mikhail Baryshnikov, which I saw in the movie theaters because my mother was a dancer and a choreographer. So a movie about dancers is going to be attended by dancers and their children. People probably know that movie mostly from Say You, Say Me by Lionel Richie, as well as We Belong by Pat Benatar comes off of that soundtrack and is incredible. And Pat Benatar, again, if there's any justice in the world, she will get into the Hall of Fame. Not that I care that much about the Hall of Fame, but she should certainly be in. And
I was going to say earlier, Record Store Day is like the Grammys and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for you. For me, I don't care, but I like to talk about it.
Yeah, I got it. I mean, like, I actually probably like Record Store Day more than the Grammys and the Hall of Fame, but like, it's just notable to talk about. This
exactly.
is what we're on an exploration together of music history and current music history and the present of music and the future of music. So this is what things that concern Nicholas and I, and that's what we talk about here. And I hope you enjoy it out there in podcast and YouTube land. So Robert, not a lot of pressure. He's got his own sub label on Atlantic at this point as he begins album number 3, Esperanza. And, he's again continuing to work with mostly the same band. Robbie Blunt on guitar and synthesizer, Jez Woodruff on keyboards, Paul Martinez on bass. And so he goes in to record his third record, which ultimately comes out in May of '85, Shaken and Stirred. Maybe a James Bond reference. I'm not sure. I mean, that's what
Wait a
everybody
minute. Are we
thinks
going
of.
backwards?
No. Did we need to do the Honey Drippers first or
Honey
the
Drippers
record
first. I thought
I'm sorry.
Chicken and Stirred was first.
Yeah, so here's a funny story. So about you're right. Honey Drippers is technically September of '84, but actually Honey Drippers goes back to 1980-81 because an idea was for Robert originally for his solo career, wanted to do like an R&B and blues band. This is actually what he wanted to do.
A bad idea.
I don't know. I mean, like to him, it was going back to his roots.
Okay.
Mind you, again, that Robert Plant joins Led Zeppelin at like 19, having been in a couple of underground bands in Birmingham, England. And really, I know that people identify the early Zeppelin, that caterwauling, wild, incredible range, very similar to Chris Cornell, not a trained singer, but an incredible vocal talent. And I think what happens to Robert over the course of Led Zeppelin, and especially out of Led Zeppelin, Robert really becomes a refined, proper, trained singer with a trained ear. He trusts himself. He's full of confidence. He knows what he's trying to achieve. He doesn't have to scream or wail. He doesn't always have to show off his range of talents, not just his range of voice, to get a point across or to get a song across. And these are, at least vocally, if you're a fan of Robert, incredibly satisfying stuff this whole period to me. And we can recap that later at the end. But so the Honey Drippers started as a band he really wanted to launch. And the idea was he had the name and he had the idea that I want to do like a blues and R&B band. And he was talking to the head of Atlantic Records, who suggested, hey, why don't you put together a band and do a bunch of covers? I'll give you some suggestions of my favorite songs. Here's a bunch of songs we both like, and I think you would do a great job covering them. Coincidentally, they are songs owned by the catalog of Atlantic Records, so makes a lot of sense from a business standpoint. A lot of people don't know this. Second beer time for Nicholas. And a very silent pop. And
That was silent?
it seemed silent. I don't know.
I'm going to have to chug this and get another one.
Don't do that. So Robert does, in fact, put a band together and start doing the Honey Drippers as early as '81, but this does not become his solo debut because he was still conflicted about what to put on record. And so then he consults with Phil, and Phil's like, oh, mate, you have to do this solo career. I'll help you. And that's how that happens. So interestingly, I'll help you doesn't mean I'll write the songs with you. It means I'll produce the record, help you pick the band, play on tour with you, everything but write with you, which, again, maybe
yeah, but
Phil...
those first two records were great.
There's a lot of good stuff on there. I think great moments, not exactly great, but the bar is unfairly high, probably.
Correct.
For a guy like
Correct.
Robert. And Robert's not trying to redo Led Zeppelin or compete with Led Zeppelin. He's trying to be his own person. So a couple of years goes by. Honey Drippers is a thing that occasionally becomes an occasional live special occasion thing. But the idea is then planted in him to do at least an EP, if not a whole album. And so to do this, Robert enlists an insanely... So he's had his 2 solo records. He's in between solo record 2 and 3. And he makes time to do this Honey Drippers, 6 to 8 months to do this Honey Drippers EP. Stab at an EP, and it's all covers. By some of the greatest songwriters ever. Some you may know, some you may not know. Nick is consulting his notes. Let's just, before we even discuss the tracks, let's just quickly, this is the personnel for the record. He has a separate band that played live originally, but his record lineup is Robert on vocals, Jeff Beck on 2 songs, Jimmy Page on 2 songs, Nile Rodgers of Chic on a couple of songs, Paul Schaefer from the David Letterman band, right?
World's Most Dangerous Band.
World's Most Dangerous Band, record producer, yada yada. Dave Weckl, world-renowned drummer on drums. Wayne Petzwalter on bass, another world-renowned dude, jazz bassist. Keith Evans on saxophone on a track. There's a couple of bonus tracks with basically Robert's solo band from these solo records on it.
It's
He also
basically like having the Blues Brothers times 4.
it is, and it's kind of modeled after the Muscle Shoals guys without having them, which is weird because he probably could have got them, but maybe there's a contractual thing.
Also, Paul Schaefer was on the first Blues Brothers record.
Indeed, he is. Let's just also talk. There's a horn section on here with some pretty notable people, as well as backing vocalists. Some semi-famous backing vocalists as well. Produced by the head of Atlantic Records under a pseudonym, as well as the fabulous Brill brothers, Robert Plant and Phil Carson, who's also a renowned producer of rock records. So Brill Brothers is an allusion to the Brill Building in New York. If you want to look up your music history for 60s and 70s rock and R&B. And again, this EP comes out. I don't know if Nick has any other pre-discussion of the track's thoughts to share, but that's my dump.
Very little. I mean,
My brain dump.
I know the whole thing was basically started, for lack of a better term, as a lark, and then it became a thing. And this EP was exceptionally well received. And Robert Plant said over and over, "There's going to be a volume 2. We're going to do a full album. Oh my God, I can't believe how much everybody loves this." And then then he went straight back to a solo career. So basically, this is just kind of a thing that happened. Brian Setzer at the time of the Stray Cats, later of solo fame that we've all heard of, did some shows as a guest performer.
They performed on Saturday Night Live.
Oh wow!
With Brian Setzer, that's like one of his things. He joined the band for that performance, and again, just very matter of fact. I don't know if Robert and Jimmy were in the studio at the same time. That would have been like, Jimmy is into his producing and soundtrack careers. This is
correct
right before the firm is formed.
Yep.
And done, which was a creation of their manager.
Around the Death Wish time.
Around the Death Wish 2, which Nick has on vinyl.
That's a weird record, by the by.
It's a very weird record, but again, it's meant to be a soundtrack.
I know.
Has stuff that's meant to be over dialogue and action scenes, so you have to always keep that in mind.
Correct.
But first album that Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page are on since the Yardbirds, when Jimmy played bass and was Jeff's basically replacement when he left the band to go solo.
There was one song, like 10 years after or 10 years before your time, something like that, where they both played lead. It's like one track. They played lead together for like a week. And then Jeff's like, bye. I know this Rod Stewart guy. I got to go.
And then Jimmy basically took Jeff's idea for the band and did Led Zeppelin.
Correct. Smartly.
With better guys, I'm sorry to say, but he did.
Yeah, he did. And I've always felt like this album was a little bit of testing the waters with Jimmy, because here we have Plant doing a couple albums by himself. He's got a good career going. He doesn't need anything. Maybe he's a little homesick. Calls Jimmy. We also know where Jimmy was at this point in time in his life, and it was not a good place.
I don't think it's ever a bad time to be Jimmy Page, but I understand what you're saying from a health and wellness point of view.
Correct.
An
accountability point of view. We'll call it that. It might not have been the best time to be working with Jimmy Page on a daily basis.
Yeah. Wild. Some wild shit here. Any other thoughts before we do a quick track by track of this EP?
No, let's get through it. Let's do this and get through it.
Let's just get through it.
That's exactly what I was saying as I was spinning the vinyl of it today. I had the Honey Drippers in my hand at least 10 different times before I finally went, you know what? Fine, I'll buy it. I mean, I got it for $6. I'm not complaining about the price, but
all right.
Let's do this.
Album starts out with 2 tracks reuniting Robert and Jimmy for the first time since Coda, the Leftovers Led Zeppelin record. I Get a Thrill by Rudy Toombs is a jumpy R&B track, and it's pretty solid. Robert is about the best thing about this whole EP to me,
Yes.
despite all the name checking I just did. And solid. I Get a Thrill. Solid, good opener. It's 2 minutes and change. It's not much of a song. It's here, it's gone.
If that had Jimmy Jackass on guitar rather than Jimmy Page, it probably would have been the exact same song.
I mean, yeah, none of these things, I'll just say, so these are all very straight covers. None of these are Led Zeppelin-fied. You hear Jeff Beck's name. There's nothing on here that's, it's not a typical, none of this has an imprint on it from any of these notable guys. They're played straight up re-recording covers of classic 50s and 60s, sometimes obscure, sometimes well-known R&B songs. Straight up old school R&B. So when I say that, this is what they were trying, this was their goal, their vision.
But they had a plan and they did it.
They definitely did by the book covers. So I Get a Thrill, again, would be a song your parents might know or not know. The song that everyone knows, the hit single, is Sea of Love by Phil Phillips and George Corey. There's a music video for it you can see with a strange guy in a Speedo playing a xylophone for some reason.
Okay, before you said that, I chose not to.
Oh.
And now I double choose not to.
I mean, Robert with his 80s poof of hair and his
don't need that
pompadour. Looking longingly into the camera, crooning. Song is good. Song is great, actually. The original is great. The cover is a wrote by numbers cover. Again, you don't hear, there's not a guitar solo. There's not a Jimmy Page anything on here. There's not a Nile Rodgers anything on here.
I'm going to disagree about the Jimmy Page bits. There are little, and I mean little licks underneath everything. If you are sitting there writing notes down while you're spinning this, you'll hear it. If you're not doing that, no, you're going to miss
I didn't hear this on vinyl, so that could be it. The YouTube music version.
You really don't need to.
This isn't a record I have revisited other than Sea of Love comes on sometimes when you hear it. It's not a record I have, an EP I revisited. I perhaps will not again soon. But anyway.
This didn't even have, I've been putting on the static things, for 2 years. And I had to put one on there. It didn't have one. And I went, nope. This is not going to be going in and out of this enough to get staticky.
Got it. Third track, I Got a Woman, which is also somewhat well known. It's a Ray Charles track. It's sort of a very jump blues. And Robert kind of swaggers a little vocally on here. But again, otherwise a straight cover. This features Jeff Beck on this track. Not that you would know based on Jeff's guitar playing. So they say.
It might feature Jimi Hendrix for all we know.
We don't. Well, we do know. And again, solid, unspectacular, unmoved by it, but cool that they put some money in Ray Charles's pocket while he was alive. This was a hit album, by the way. This was a huge hit album with two charting hits. So and maybe even 3 actually that made the charts across the world. So Sea of Love, Sea of Love was 2 weeks in a row #1 across the world. I Got a Woman and Rockin' at Midnight were both top 40 single releases, which is insane. Off the same EP.
To quote Randall Graves, what happened to this world? In 1984.
There's only one return, and it ain't of the king.
It's of the Jedi.
It's of the Jedi. Anyway. Yes. More! Anyway, I love Adam Driver so much. Side 2 of the EP were mercifully almost done. Young Boy Blues, Doc Pomus, and Phil Spector.
Oh, hang on. I didn't get to talk about that last track.
Oh, I figured you had nothing to say.
No, I actually do. It's a straight up boogie woogie tune.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear Jeff Beck and Robert Plant do boogie woogie. I want them to do boogie blues.
Noted. I get it, but again, this was done with a purpose. It's just not there. I know. I get it. It's done.
There's nothing wrong with the song. It's just not my taste.
Yeah. I would not want a whole album of this, actually.
No,
the way it is now.
No.
the way it is. If you were going to tell me that Robert and Jimmy were going to get together like Unleaded and reinterpret these songs their way in different arrangements with Jimmy and Robert doing their Jimmy and Robert stuff on it, I'd be all about it. But like the
Yeah,
way this is,
I'll light some incense and get the bongos out. I'm ready for that.
true. So yes, Young Boy Blues, again, another kind of decent track. Doc Pomus is a legendary songwriter. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a songwriter, not really a performer or a singer. And Phil Spector, we all know, is a madman with a gun and a great record producer.
I know. I wish I wasn't about to say what I'm going to say. This is the best song on the album.
This is the second best song on the album to me, but I think Sea of Love is a great song in and of itself.
Yeah, Sea of Love is too weird for me.
Version doesn't, if you hear Sea of Love, you can see why they wrote All of My Love. It's almost the same song.
Fair.
Virtually the same song without synthesizers. It's like the same gravy. The same bouillabaisse.
Oh, little b-boy bouillabaisse.
Yeah. And then the final track, also a single, somehow Rockin' at Midnight. Not that rockin'.
No.
For a song with rockin' in the title.
Let me read you my notes if I could.
Oh, let's hear the notes.
This might be better than the previous song, but I don't need it either.
Nice. Very well. Yeah, again, also featuring Jeff Beck, but you wouldn't know it.
Correct. And I regret all my choices suggesting that we do this because I knew I didn't much care for the Honey Drippers. I didn't know I this much hated it. So the first person to comment on the YouTube video, if you want my copy in the mail, comment.
Nice. Contest time, giveaway. There was a good sax solo on Rockin' at Midnight. Again, and like not just Robert. Again, the goal was executed. Here's the goal.
Correct.
Set up the dominoes, knock them down. They did that, right? But this record features some of the greatest names in rock and jazz history on this record. And they didn't do anything.
Correct.
They got a number one record for like no work almost. No effort.
They made a Rube Goldberg device. The matches lit. The candle went, and the skateboard knocked it into platinum status. That was the plan, and I am not interested in that plan.
Yeah, it's
if I'm going to listen to straight up R&B covers, I'll just listen to the dudes that did it.
Yeah. But Sea of Love. I know. People play it at funerals. People play it at weddings. People dance to this song at their wedding.
For the love of God, nobody played that song at my funeral.
Yeah. No. Well, it'll be clearly something from The Wall because that's your favorite record. But everybody's going to already be depressed enough.
It was a Tout Le Monde until I saw somebody with Alex Jones. So now it's not.
I liked the Tout Le Monde when it first came out, and then the longer it's been out and I've grown older, I dislike the song much more. It's really not. It wasn't a good choice. Ultimately, I was like, "This is so cool." It's not.
Yeah, I know.
So, Honey Drippers comes and goes. Number one album. Play on Saturday Night Live. Do a few shows, charity shows. Good for them. Good to raise money.
Correct.
And then a funny thing happens on the way to the forum, where also I think I'm going to surprise you by talking about something after this. We are going to talk about Shaken and Stirred. Sorry, I jumped the gun earlier. I feel like it's a James.
No, I actually had it in my notes that way. I did Honey Drippers second, so I'm with you.
So let's aside from the Honey Drippers, we're back to Robert's solo stuff, and it's very 80s. Let's just start here, right? It's a very 80s, mid 80s pop rock record, and I say the rock part really lightly.
The most commonly used phrase in my notes is Ferris Bueller.
Ferris Bueller, John Hughes movies. Some of this is like almost sounds like a Huey Lewis or a Phil Collins record, and not
some of,
a lot of,
most of.
This is co-produced, interestingly, by Robert Benji Lefevre and Tim Palmer. Tim Palmer would go on to produce U2 and Pearl Jam and countless other bands, Tara Renin and some metal bands, Porcupine Tree. But like Tim Palmer, I think he's in You know, he's a David Bowie guy, so I think he was on Tin Machine as a guitarist, and he's also maybe co-produced some of that. Um, it's a strange record. It's stranger than the first two records. It's a little bizarre. This record, the little take's getting a little good. I think it's a shower, not a. It's a grower, not a shower.
No, it is not. I regret this more than the Honey Drippers.
Wow.
Oh, yeah,
Wow.
I know. Look, we got to week 2 of Robert Plant, and I went, "What am I doing to myself?" But here we are. I did this.
Is this worse than Quiet Riot episode 3 and 4, or not quite that bad?
No, nothing.
That's my bar for how bad we're gonna go.
Ooh, oh my God, we're not. No, this is as low as it goes for Plant. We're gonna next week. We're taking a shot to the moon comparatively, but I wonder when you consider the Honey Drippers was 30 years old essentially when he put it out, and now we have exceptionally modern pop. Is this an overcorrection, or is this just what he wanted to do? That's the thing about this album, Shaken and Stirred, that has always really confused me. You listen to Pictures at 11, you listen to Principle of Moments. They are modernized versions of Robert Plant Led Zeppelin tunes. All of My Love, In the Evening, stuff like that. It's easy to see that progression. However, there is no progression that leads to this from Led Zeppelin.
That's fair.
This is, I mean, it is Ferris Bueller's Day Off as an album.
Do you mean like the Oh Yeah song, or you just mean in general the vibe?
All of it, all of it, but mostly the oh yeah. Boom. I mean, there's no guitar on this record to speak of.
It's very synth heavy.
There is not a single guitar rock riff. There are some little plinky plinks here and there, but if Robert Plant is trying to put the stake in the heart, maybe working with Jimmy Page, it doesn't work like it used to. So now we have to stake in the heart of Led Zeppelin and kill any possibility of them working together again by becoming. I mean, I'm trying to come up with ways and reasons how we got from Principle of Moments to this.
Have we discussed the Digging Deep podcast at all?
No, we have not.
Okay, so Robert has a podcast from the lockdown last year called Digging Deep, where he analyzes different things from across his career. Not really Zeppelin, everything but Zeppelin, of course, because that's what people want from him. So he won't do it. But he mentioned talking
He's
about
Robert effing Plant. He can do whatever he wants.
Talking about this record and talking about some of these songs, he was heavily influenced by David Byrne and the Talking Heads and New Wave and sort of early alternative rock, if you will, because that's what, to me, I know Talking Heads are, comrades of punks, but they weren't that punk themselves. They were really ahead of New Wave post-punk in the truest sense.
New Wave was the next evolution of
punk. Unfortunately, this record was just a little more gothy. It almost could have been a post-punk record.
Yeah,
it's just not dark enough.
If you didn't have Robert Plant.
Yeah, if you had
Robert Smith, if you had
Robert Smith, if you had I was gonna say Bauhaus, what's his face?
You could put Fred Schneider on this, and it's the same record.
I got me a Chrysler. I love Fred Schneider, dude.
I do too.
We should almost do B-52s.
Except Rock Lobster. That song is just stupid. But if you had him singing the same lyrics, it's the same goddamn record.
Almost.
No. Like, what, 98, 99% the same? I mean, it's...
I will let you do the honors of this one.
Great. Awesome. I don't have the track title, so you gotta list off the tracks.
You're just making me do it. Unreal. All right.
You just say the title, and I'll read my notes.
The album leads off with the really confusing Hip to Who, H-O-O, Who. Like, I don't know. Horton Hears a Who? I don't...
in fairness, do we even need the titles? I mean, the titles are nonsensical anyway.
No, I mean, I think we do need to talk about the tracks.
So,
Hip to Who.
Horton Hears a Who. We'll start off there. This song, it's like, I don't know what's going on. It's very much 1985. This is, if you could snort 1985, it would sound like this. And there is a song there with the opening track, Horton Hears a Who. I hear the Who too. I am definitely on that, Lori. I am with it. And that's, this is definitely a modernized Robert Plant. It is still so goddamned 80s. And it's weird to think that Robert Plant, up to this point, has always been a retro artist. And now he's shooting for nowtro, postmodern even.
Fair. That's very fair. Callaloo Callaloo is the next song. Again,
wait a minute, you didn't say anything.
I have nothing to say about that first track. It's kind of a dead on arrival for me. It's
the whole record is
opening. It's the weakest opening track of the Robert early solo career. It's way too long at almost 5 minutes. It's just a synth poppy turd. I'm not a fan. It's
okay. We can just shut it. We can just shut it down. You pretty much nailed the whole everything.
It's uninspiring.
All right. Callaloo Callaloo. It's got some good female vocals in the background, which adds it a little bit nice. It is, the riffs are missing. The riffs missing from the previous song are a little bit on here, but very much no. But through all of this, you have Robert Plant being Robert Plant and really vocally killing it.
Yeah, his singing is good.
Yeah, correct.
And I think his lyrics are meant to be a little more abstract here than even before on his previous couple of records, right? So he's not necessarily going for storytelling as much as he's throwing out feelings and vibes. Right?
Wait a minute. So did he finish telling all the stories from Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit?
For sure.
Fair.
And wrong and I love Led Zeppelin more than you could possibly imagine, but even when they did them wrong.
I know they did them good.
They did them good, but they did them wrong.
They made Lord of the Rings sound good though.
Stop it. Anyway, I get this all the time from one friend of mine.
The other night.
You silence your whore mouth, sir. Like, I just will not listen to you besmirch Tolkien in my presence while wearing a star.
It's Tolkien? I really didn't know.
Holy crap. Anyway, moving on to one of the few good songs on this record.
We did take home Fellowship of the Ring from my late father-in-law's personal library.
Well, he had some taste.
Our house.
He should not have let you marry his daughter, though.
He loved Bilbo.
Yeah, well, he's relatable. We're all troubled in the same way Bilbo was, especially when you possess the magic ring for many years too long. It corrupts your mind. Yeah. One ring to rule them all.
I'm putting that ring down.
I'm going to not expound about how excited I am about the Lord of the Rings prequel series coming to Amazon this year. So, Too Loud is the third song on the record. It is one of the better tracks on here, certainly in the top 2 or 3. He meant it as a joke song. Says that it's meant to be funny and people misunderstood it. But it's actually one of the better tracks here all the way around. It is
definitely a joke. We are quickly careening into Culture Club territory here. You could have Boy George sing this tune. Same song.
There is a lot of raga on this track, a lot of reggae, and I know Robert's a fan, but he didn't really tribute it well. But I get it. He's going for like a ska reggae thing here. And it's, current for 85, but Correct. It's not good, not well executed. And again, Tim Palmer, who is known as a guitar guy, who has produced epic guitar albums. Where's the guitar on here, bro? Pink Floyd managed to copy reggae and, impart reggae into their genre and still kept all the guitars. Why is it not here at all?
What is this album? Anyway, next track.
It's very 1985. Think about your 1985 albums that are all over the map. But it's
Robert Plant. This is a god.
He's trying to not be a god. He's trying to be immortal.
This is a god made mortal.
Amortal, not immortal.
Right.
Trouble Your Money. Number 4, Trouble Your Money. Pretty nondescript to me.
It's got a little bit of guitar parts. There's no riffs. It's that plinky, that little arpeggio stuff we talked about. It's accents, and it just again, like every song, it relies so heavily on the synths. Who wanted this?
What's also interesting is that Robert has to compete with those synthesizers in his range
Yeah.
because he's really like, there's some really interesting vocal stuff on here. It's not bad, but I'm also saying from a sonic perspective, he is competing against that where the synths live. He's trying to cut through with his croony lower voice, and I don't know that it always serves him well.
It's very busy.
It's a little too busy. To close side one, because we're trying to speed through this, poorness, to quote Tank from The Matrix, pink and black is major boring shit. And so it's just pretty boring. I'm glad it's the song length shrinks. This is the shortest song on the record, I believe. And thankfully.
It's a well-written song. The synth programming is amazing, but I want to rock out, and this isn't rock.
No, not at all.
Flip the record if you're a dingus like me.
Yeah, flip the record. Thankfully, the best song on the record, the most well-known song on the record, and arguably Robert's third or fourth, maybe his second or third biggest solo hit song is this next song, Little by Little, which is the track most of you listening will at least know in passing. It's actually a pretty good song. There is, again, not much guitar on it. It's like a little bit of R&B funk guitar.
For me, it was, it starts off, it's like, wow, this is really great, but I'm gun shy because you have beaten me into synthy submission.
Yeah, this is more like the vibe the whole record should have had. Lyrically, correct. Vocally, instrumentation, composure, everything. This is the track. They should have wrote this first and been like, oh, more like that. Let's do 2 or 3 of those, and they didn't.
Best song on the record,
for sure. Doo doo a doo doo. I have no idea what the hell this is about.
What is the noise that's going on this song? I don't know what it is. Is somebody playing Hawkeye's Compound Bow and with a pickup? Boom, 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 boom. I don't know what the hell's going on here. And it's crazy odd melodies. Somebody is literally playing a compound bow. That's all. I don't know what else it could be.
This is another one of those where I look at these song titles and I'm like, did he just... Here's the scratch tracks and the tentative titles, and he just kept them out of laziness.
You said that last week, and I can totally see that.
Just Callaloo Callaloo and Trouble Your Money and Pink and Black and Doo Doo.
What the hell does Trouble Your Money mean?
I don't know. I might have meant it as a blues reference, but just like who could know? So Doo Doo a Doo Doo is Doo Doo. And I was saving that up because I'm a juvenile at heart, a man-child.
Nicely done.
Here's a missed opportunity. Easily led, L-E-A-D. If he really wanted to be clever, he should have made it easily led, L-E-D, like Zeppelin, but he missed the opportunity.
But they
probably
didn't
not.
do
but easily led is also pedestrian.
Yeah, and it's just that synth bass. It's just like stop it.
And then it's not too good. And then this song I actually kind of like. The closes the record proper. 6s and 7s, again, don't know what it's about. Maybe he's talking about women he's discarded or what. But his vocals on this are pretty ripping. And it's a pretty solid song. It goes on because I think they knew it was going to be the final track of the record. So it's got like a very extended outro that's fully unnecessary. Should have faded to black at 5 minutes or whatever, faded out. But it's actually a solid song. It's decent compared to the rest of this turd pile. It would be like the 3rd or 4th best song or 4th or 5th best song on here.
Maybe I'm just beaten down and want it to be over. But for me, that was the best song on the record. Maybe just because it closed it out. I don't know. This album is abject bullshit. It never rises to the level of, do we need this? It's never even that good. It is... It's like, you're watching a movie about somebody who goes solo and you see like that picture of their album and then it like ages. You know what I'm talking about? Like that trope. That is this record for Robert Plant. If you see a copy of this that is not aged and gotten dirty, witchcraft has happened there. It's that bad.
Yeah, this is perhaps of the whole run we're gonna do. We'll see, but that probably the weakest record. I will mention the female voice that you shouted out earlier is Tony Halliday, who is well acclaimed as a great vocalist, lead and backup in her own right. And I didn't want to overlook her because she is wonderful and she does contribute on here. And I like that Robert tried to do like a call and response in some tracks, and he's really trying to get away from what made him him. It's a bold choice. It's not a good choice. These tracks are not very reflective of Robert's talent, in my opinion, which is a shame. This is not a buy. I definitely would buy the first two. I bought the first one. I definitely would buy Principle of Moments. I would not buy this record or even take it for free. You are offering yours for free.
So you don't want mine?
I really don't. And
I
also
don't want mine.
even the front cover is like some Peter Max,
Yeah, what the
acid
hell
trip,
is that?
80s Jackson Pollock bullshit. I don't really relate to and doesn't
that's
tell a story.
also on the label, like the side A label. It's got that stupid thing. I mean, there is nothing redeeming about this record. If I never hear it again, yay. It's that bad. It is legitimately that bad. I would rather listen to Black Sabbath 7 Star forever than hear this one more time.
That is nuts.
Have that on vinyl too. I made a lot of poor choices.
Make better choices. That's the
that is the theme of today. Make good choices.
But here's a good thing. Let's take it out on a good note, because something fun happens right after this record comes out. Live Aid. We're not going to spend a lot of time I want to talk about it. I'm surprising Nick with this because I want to end on a positive note for our listeners.
All right,
and
Live Aid.
Even though Live Aid didn't go that well for Robert,
anyone in the band.
Live Aid raised millions of dollars.
Just in Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, we'll talk. I think it's worth discussing Live Aid for a minute. It deserves its own episode or its own coverage.
Real quick, did you know Phil Collins played on both continents?
I know that for
because he rode on the Concorde.
He played twice in the same day. He did a solo set in London and then flew to Philadelphia and played drums in Led Zeppelin, which is what a lot of people wanted when John Bonham died, for Phil Collins to replace. I don't know if they wanted, maybe that was like a selfish thing where they wanted Peter Gabriel back at Genesis if Phil left to go be in Led Zeppelin, which is mean because...
Hey, it can be two things. It can be two things.
It can be two things. But yeah, so Live Aid happens. Coincidentally, I think in one of our December episodes, I mentioned getting Do They Know It's Christmas, which was the very first Live Aid anything. This is Bob Geldof from the Boomtown Rats and Pink from The Wall, among other things.
That's why I remembered Boomtown Rats. I had one of their records in my hand today.
I Don't Like Mondays, yada, yada, yada. So Bob Geldof organizes Do They Know It's Christmas, which I got for $1 at the thrift store. Is a pretty good copy. It was basically the British and sort of somewhat American-ish answer to We Are the World, and raised a lot of money for charity. Bob then starts dedicating his life, along with Midget Ure of Ultravox, to trying to raise money for charity. Let's put on this giant show. Live Aid, what people remember from Live Aid is Queen. Queen was a last-minute addition, demanded to go on as the headliner of the final band of the day. 2 concerts simultaneously in the UK and America, broadcast on MTV for 24 hours, referenced ad infinitum. Box set's worth having. I had the DVD box set at one point. It's definitely worth owning. A lot of history there. A lot of great sets. Sadly, Led Zeppelin's was not one of them. And also Black Sabbath is also pretty bad. Again, kind of Black Sabbath is like done with a shotgun against their will almost. It seemed like they were all told, like, you guys are reuniting with Ozzy and you don't have a choice. Get out there and play.
Good luck.
Cups. Good luck. And they were just like, this is a mat. All right, sure. And, Ozzy seemed to be the most excited person up there, of course. And everybody else was like, energy zero. So that's Black Sabbath. Queen's set is legendary. It isn't the last time they played together, but it's one of the last times they ever performed together. People don't really realize that. Queen put out a few more albums, but never performed again live as a band with Freddie. But that's what people remember from Live 8. They remember Freddie and the incredible. It's really only like 25 minutes, but it's like one of the most incredible 25 minutes of live rock and roll
Just
you'll ever see.
just to point out, Freddie, on their last record, while he was dying and refused to discuss it, or they wrote my favorite Queen tune, "The Show Must Go On."
The show must go on. If you cannot cry while listening to that and you know the story, you're an android or something. You're Vision from Marvel.
Sociopath.
You might be a sociopath, yes.
I'm getting chills just, okay, moving on.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
get away from this.
So Zeppelin gets to be part of this thing, because they're trying to get people to watch and donate money. So, like, it's just everybody in the world is on this concert. It is incredible. And so Led Zeppelin sort of reluctantly agrees because it's for charity. But, you get the feeling that if they had never been asked, they wouldn't have even ever done this because, like, it just seems like everybody was captive and didn't want to do it. You know, Arguably, Robert argued to get Phil to play drums, and apparently he was not Jimmy's pick. And somehow Robert was like, I won't do it if it's not Phil on drums.
Good thing
And
the Concorde didn't break down.
Tony Thompson also played from Genesis, right? Is that Chester Thompson or Tony Thompson? I forget.
I don't know.
Sorry. No, I'm thinking of Chester Thompson. Tony Thompson is from Chic and the Power Station. Sorry. Rest in peace. He has passed away. So, it's not like a regular concert where you have a sound check. They're just running people on stage.
Go out, do it. Good luck.
They're almost doing it to the television broadcast as opposed to how you should really do a show like a concert. They're trying to run it like they're being managed by the stage manager of MTV for commercial breaks, which is bad because that's not how a show should be done. And of course, MTV did not necessarily donate their. It wasn't commercial free. They didn't donate their revenue time to the concert. They made ad revenue from it. It was the most watched thing ever beside a Super Bowl, almost to this day. So Zeppelin runs out to play Whole Lotta Love, and like Jimmy's guitar is out of tune immediately, and it's like, oh my god. And it's not like that now, where like if your guitar's out of tune, you literally press a button and everything is pitched up correctly, and not this.
Although
and,
Jimmy did switch to that. He was an early adopter.
You can tell why. And so Phil wasn't very well rehearsed. He was exhausted from the trip. Then you want to pat him on the back for playing both shows, but he didn't play terribly, but he also is not John Bonham. And Phil is one of the greatest drummers ever. I will die on this mountain.
He went at supersonic speeds. The dude flew at Mach 3 to be there. Mach 3. You've never flown Mach 3.
Right. The quote from Wikipedia, a source of sources and not necessarily the truth, but Jimmy Page later criticized Collins' performance, saying, Robert told me Phil wanted to play with us. I told him, all right, if he knows the numbers. But at the end of the day, he didn't know anything. We played a Whole Lotta Love, and he's just there bashing away cluelessly and grinning. I thought that was really a joke, Collins responded. It wasn't my fault it was crap. If I could have walked off, I would have. But then we would have been talking about why Phil Collins walked off a Live Aid. So I just stuck it up. Look, I turned up, and I was a square peg in a round hole. Robert was happy to see me, but Jimmy wasn't. Led Zeppelin has subsequently blocked rebroadcasts of their performance and withheld their permission for it to be on the DVD because they feel like it's, one of the worst, bad, for a band that was so controlling of their image and so controlling of what has been released before and since. They felt like it was really a black mark on their career. But I wanted to mention it because it does bring Robert and Jimmy back together on stage in person, for better or worse, mostly for worse. They did help bring, the curiosity factor is what made people watch. Let's be real. People wanted to see these reunions. But at the same time, not the best.
That is probably also what kept Jimmy and Robert apart for the next 10 years.
Arguably. Well, not completely apart, because as we're going to discuss next week, they do come back together as friends and collaborators.
All right, I need to pay more attention to that record. Next week, we will get to at least Now and Zen
and Manic Nirvana.
Maybe we split that up and call that 4 and call it a day. Maybe we don't. We'll see.
I don't know. I mean, I could. You go listen and tell me if you think we could. I think we could do them in one, but like if you want to do them in two, I also am okay with doing like a fourth episode, which is like Fate of Nations to the rest of Robert's career, and maybe do that. But that's up to you.
I don't want to.
I don't want to listen
anyway,
to all those records.
No, I don't want to listen to them either. That's why I'm not doing that. Anyway, anything else we have to say this week?
No, I mean, like, it's I appreciate Robert for trying to not, fall into a stereotype and try to be different and try to be original and do his own thing, but doesn't always go your way. But
Correct.
I can imagine the pressure of having to live up to all that shit.
Right. I agree with all of that. And I have nothing more to say. I'm going to let you take us out this week.
No way. Well, thank you for listening to the Glacially Musical Pouredcast. It does not play in Peoria.